The galaxy's decline had been centuries in the making. Once, the celestial flames powered entire star systems, their radiant energy sustaining advanced civilizations and fueling grand interstellar networks. The Ildar who had kindled the flames millennia ago were worshipped as the galaxy's caretakers. But when the Ildar vanished without explanation, their ancient technology began to decay, and the flames slowly dimmed, their energy dissipating into the cold void. The once thriving systems fell into ruin, and as the light of civilization faded, the galaxy slipped into a dark age marked by scarcity and conflict. What remained were shattered remnants of former empires, scavenging through debris fields and forgotten star systems for whatever scraps of technology and resources they could find. Humanity arrived late to the cosmic stage, with no grand history of galactic achievements to its name. Earth's fledgling colonies struggled on the outskirts of what was once prime territory, often viewed as insignificant by the older species. In the face of dwindling star energy, humans carved out a rough existence as scavengers, traders, and sometimes raiders, seeking any means of survival. Few believed the human species could contribute anything meaningful in a galaxy teetering on the brink of collapse. Amid this desperate backdrop, Captain Leora Matthews led a salvage expedition aboard the Elysium, a heavily modified exploratory vessel tasked with navigating the hazardous and decayed sectors in search of usable technology. Ashera Prime, the planet their crew had just reached, was considered an unremarkable wasteland on the edge of known space, an unlikely candidate for anything more than ancient scrap. Its surface was scarred by centuries of asteroid impacts and tectonic upheavals, the sky perpetually darkened by dust and swirling electrical storms. The planet's only notable feature was the vast, ruined temple complex in its northern hemisphere, an Ildar relic that most believed had long since been plundered. However, as the crew descended upon the site, they detected an unusual energy signature buried deep beneath the main structure. Following the signal through a series of crumbling passageways and collapsed chambers, they arrived at a cavernous chamber dominated by a massive crystalline structure, an ancient Ildar apparatus blackened with age. In its center lay what appeared to be a dormant celestial flame, a darkened core that flickered with the faintest of light, like a smoldering ember clinging to existence. Captain Matthews stood before it, feeling the weight of its ancient presence. No one expected to find a living trace of the flames in such a place. The Ildar had been gone for so long that any remaining energy sources should have depleted entirely. Yet here it was, a faint, pulsing glow within the crystalline structure, a remnant of the Ildar's great works. Matthews ordered a closer inspection, directing the crew to analyze the machinery surrounding the core. As her engineers ran tests, they found a network of decayed conduits, some still faintly humming with residual power, indicating that the flame had not completely died out. Captain Matthews couldn't shake the feeling that this discovery could be more than just another relic. If there was a way to reignite the flame, it could mean a turning point, not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy. For the first time in centuries, there was a spark of hope, and with it, the possibility of rekindling not just the flames, but the light of civilization itself. The crew of the Elysium worked tirelessly within the ancient chamber, rigging together makeshift diagnostic tools and tapping into the remnants of the Ildar machinery surrounding the dormant celestial flame. Their initial attempts to reactivate it were met with little success, the energy readings fluctuating only slightly as they probed the device's crystalline network. Hours turned into days, and exhaustion began to wear on the crew. Many questioned whether this was just another dead end, an artifact of a bygone era with nothing left to offer. Yet Captain Matthews was resolute, driven by the belief that there was something here worth fighting for, something the galaxy desperately needed. Amidst the tests, a breakthrough occurred when Chief Engineer Halstead discovered an unusual harmonic resonance within the structure. By channeling specific energy frequencies through the flame's crystalline conduits, they managed to produce a brief but bright ignition, causing the flame to flare up, illuminating the chamber in a brilliant azure light. The burst only lasted for a few moments before dying back down to its previous dim state, but it was undeniable proof that the flame could be rekindled. Excitement surged through the crew. This was not merely a flicker of hope, it was a spark of defiance against the encroaching darkness. News of the rekindling quickly spread beyond the Elysium. The energy pulse released during the brief ignition had sent ripples across nearby sectors, and the faint signature was picked up by various scavenger ships and monitoring stations. The message spread like wildfire. A human crew had found a way to revive a celestial flame. In a galaxy desperate for any chance at survival, such a revelation was bound to attract attention, and not all of it was friendly. Within days, the Elysium found itself surrounded by a motley fleet of alien vessels, some arriving under the guise of diplomacy, others with open threats. The most dangerous of these was the warlord Kravos, a ruthless leader of a nomadic faction known as the Acheros, infamous for seizing technology and extorting weaker species. Kravos demanded that Captain Matthews surrender the flame and the knowledge of how it was reignited, declaring that a mere human expedition had no right to wield such power. The crew prepared for the worst, knowing they were vastly outgunned, but Matthews refused to back down. She ordered her team to continue their work, channeling all available resources into maintaining and stabilizing the flame. As tensions escalated, Matthews made a bold move. She activated the flame at full power, sending out a surge of energy that temporarily blinded the surrounding ship's sensors and disrupted their systems. The dazzling burst served as a warning to the opportunists and warlords gathered around them. While the ignition burned at the expense of the Elysium's own resources, the spectacle demonstrated to the galaxy that humanity was capable of more than scavenging for scraps. It was a declaration that they would not relinquish the flame without a fight. The rekindled light drew the attention of not just the opportunistic, but also those seeking allies and a chance to escape the darkening fate of their own worlds. Refugees, diplomats, and curious emissaries from various species began arriving at Ashera Prime, forming an unlikely alliance around the human expedition. For many, the sight of the revived flame was the first true beacon of hope they had seen in years. Some of these newcomers offered ancient fragments of Ildar technology, relics thought useless but which the humans incorporated into their efforts to stabilize the flame further. As the galaxy watched, a spark of defiance had indeed been lit. Humanity was no longer content to remain in the shadows of more ancient species, or merely survive in a galaxy slipping into darkness. Now, they were the guardians of a rekindled flame, a light that defied extinction, and a force that would rally those who still believed the galaxy was not beyond saving. As word of humanity's defiance spread, more ships arrived at Ashera Prime, some bearing emissaries of respect and others veiling desperation in diplomatic pleasantries. Among them were the Illuminarch, an enigmatic and ancient order of alien scholars dedicated to preserving what fragments remained of Ildar knowledge. They had observed the galaxy's decline with a grim acceptance, but the rekindling at Ashera Prime had reignited something long dormant within their order. They approached Captain Matthews with a proposal, an alliance to recover the secrets of the celestial flames, and perhaps even locate the fabled eternal flame, the original source believed to be capable of revitalizing the entire galaxy. The Illuminarch shared long-buried fragments of Ildar history and technology, revealing how the celestial flames were not merely sources of energy, but conduits of life, designed to amplify the vitality of entire star systems through an intricate network called the Luminexus. It had once spanned thousands of worlds, linking them in a vast web of shared energy. But when the Ildar vanished, the Luminexus fragmented, and the flames died out. The Ildar had left behind clues to the eternal flame's location, but these were scattered across distant and perilous sectors. With each rekindled flame, the network would become stronger, guiding the way to the heart of the Luminexus, where the eternal flame supposedly resided. Captain Matthews recognized the magnitude of the task before them and the need for broader support. The alliance around the Elysium grew, now a coalition of species who had been marginalized and left adrift in the darkened galaxy. They began calling themselves the Lightbearers, an unlikely confederation led by humans and guided by the Illuminarch, bound together by a shared belief in rekindling the lost light. Matthews was chosen as their leader, her defiance having inspired not just her crew but alien allies as well. The coalition's first objective was to rekindle a series of flames that formed an old Ildar constellation known as the Starspire, believed to be a major junction within the Luminexus. The journey to the Starspire was fraught with peril. The region was heavily contested, and the Nelites, a radical sect that worshipped the fading stars as harbingers of a natural end, were determined to extinguish any flame they found reignited. The Nihilites launched a relentless assault against the Lightbearers, utilizing tactics designed to disrupt the rekindling process and turn the remnants of Ildar technology against the coalition. Their presence at the Starspire revealed a grim truth. Someone had been systematically hunting down and sabotaging celestial flames for centuries, long before the current Dark Age. The Nihilites were more than fanatics. They were the inheritors of a long legacy of despair, and they intended to ensure that the darkness remained absolute. As battles raged across the Starspire, Matthews ordered a bold counteroffensive. Using the rekindled flame's power to boost communications and navigation, she orchestrated a coordinated strike that caught the Nihilites off guard. Several flames were reignited in rapid succession, their sudden bursts of light overwhelming the Nihilite defenses. The cascading rekindling generated a chain reaction that restored not just the Starspire's energy, but sent waves of rejuvenation through nearby systems. Worlds that had long struggled under dim stars now felt the renewed warmth of the flames, and once abandoned colonies flickered back to life. The rekindling of the Starspire was more than just a tactical victory, it was a symbolic one. The Lightbearers had shown that defiance could achieve more than mere survival, it could restore what had been lost. Their coalition expanded, and for the first time in centuries, species across the galaxy began to rally around a common purpose. The path to the eternal flame was still shrouded in mystery, but with each rekindled flame, the Luminexus grew stronger, illuminating the way forward. The Lightbearers were no longer just a symbol of hope. They were the vanguard of a new era, lighting the path for a galaxy to follow. The journey toward the eternal flame led the Lightbearers deep into the abyssal reach, a region of space notorious for its gravitational anomalies, swirling dark energy storms, and drifting wreckage from countless lost vessels. It was a graveyard of past expeditions, where even light seemed hesitant to venture. The sector's distorted space made navigation perilous, and the rekindled flames struggled to pierce through the dense shroud of dark energy, leaving the fleet in a constant twilight. For the Lightbearers, this was not just a test of their technology and tactics, but a crucible of endurance and resolve. Amid the labyrinthine wreckage and unpredictable gravitational shifts, the coalition faced mounting dangers. The Nihilites, far from being broken after their defeat at the Starspire, had regrouped and pursued the Lightbearers into the Reach. Here, their fanatical devotion to the darkened cosmos gave them an advantage. They had long studied this region's treacherous conditions and knew how to use its anomalies as weapons. Ambushes became frequent, with Nihilite ships emerging from the shadows to strike suddenly before retreating back into the swirling darkness. The relentless attacks took their toll on morale and supplies, and doubts began to spread within the ranks. Adding to the crew's struggles, sabotage emerged from within. Strange malfunctions plagued the ships, and rekindling attempts repeatedly failed for no discernible reason. Investigations revealed that some of the Lightbearers' own members were sleeper agents of the Nell Lights, having infiltrated the coalition to undermine its efforts from the inside. The betrayal struck hard, fueling mistrust even among old allies. Captain Matthews took swift action, rooting out the saboteurs and rallying the coalition with a speech transmitted across the fleet, declaring that they would not falter in the face of darkness. She emphasized that the very essence of the flames was defiance against the void and that they would shine brighter for every challenge overcome. With discipline restored, the Lightbearers pushed deeper into the heart of the abyssal reach. There, amidst the shadows and debris, they found a colossal structure, a remnant of the Ildar's lost works, partially entombed within a mass of twisted wreckage. The structure was not merely an ancient installation, it was a failed attempt to restart the eternal flame. The shattered machinery and broken conduits told the story of countless civilizations that had come before them, each trying and failing to rekindle the galaxy's light. It became clear that the eternal flame was not merely dormant, but actively suppressing any rekindling attempts, perhaps due to a security measure left behind by the Ildar themselves. While the Lightbearers worked to understand the intricacies of the Ildar machinery, the Nihilites launched their most devastating assault yet. Utilizing dark energy distortions, they created a spatial rift that began pulling ships into a gravitational maelstrom. Captain Matthews ordered all available power diverted to the rekindling effort, using the flames as an anchor to stabilize the region. She led a strike team into the heart of the ancient structure to manually override the suppression mechanisms, using Ildar relics scavenged from across the galaxy. As Matthews and her team delved deeper, they discovered that the suppression field was linked to an ancient Ildar artificial intelligence, designed to guard the eternal flame from unworthy hands. It demanded proof that those seeking to rekindle the flame understood its true purpose, not merely as a source of power, but as a binding force for life itself. In a desperate gambit, Matthews interfaced with the AI, using human experiences of resilience and survival across the darkened galaxy as evidence of their worth. The AI, recognizing the Lightbearers' defiance against despair, relented and lifted the suppression field. With the suppression lifted, the rekindling succeeded. The flame flared to life, burning brighter than any seen since the Ildar's time. The surge of energy disrupted the Nellite fleet, scattering their forces and stabilizing the region. For the first time in ages, the abyssal reach was bathed in light, revealing the path forward to the eternal flame. Though the Lightbearers had endured the crucible, they emerged stronger, and the rekindling marked the beginning of the end for the darkness that had gripped the galaxy for so long. With the abyssal reach behind them, the Lightbearers set their course for the hidden star cluster where the eternal flame was said to reside. The rekindled flames along the luminexes had become more than just beacons. They formed a luminous map pointing the way to the heart of the galaxy's ancient energy network. The eternal flame's location, once shrouded in myth, was now revealed as a colossal structure orbiting a dying star, a synthetic stellar construct that glowed faintly, surrounded by the shattered remnants of countless failed expeditions. The structure, known as the Core Forge, was the largest Ildar creation ever discovered, its surface covered in layers of alien wreckage from civilizations that had tried and failed to restart the flame over millennia. As the Coalition fleet approached, Captain Matthews felt the weight of history upon them. The Ildar's most advanced technologies surrounded the Core Forge, a network of colossal crystalline spires that once channeled energy across the entire luminexus. However, the system was dormant, and to ignite it would require activating the primary ignition sequence embedded deep within the structure. The task was further complicated by the presence of a Nillite armada, which had gathered in a last-ditch effort to stop the rekindling. Their leader, High Prophet Kaler, declared that the galaxy's darkness was inevitable and that the flame's time had passed. He broadcasted messages throughout the sector, urging even those not aligned with the Nihilites to abandon the rekindling and accept the coming darkness as the natural end of all things. Unwilling to be swayed, Matthews and her crew prepared to engage the Nihilites while a strike team was sent to the heart of the core forge. The strike team's mission was to manually trigger the ignition sequence using fragments of Ildar technology collected from previous rekindlings. The battle above the core forge was intense, as waves of Nihilite ships launched relentless assaults against the Lightbearers. It seemed a hopeless struggle, for every Nihilite vessel destroyed, more emerged from the shadows, driven by fanatical devotion to extinguishing the last light. In the depths of the core forge, the strike team navigated ancient corridors lined with inert machinery and crystalline pathways leading to the central ignition chamber. When they reached the heart of the construct, they found a massive interface pulsating with faint energy, a final remnant of the original eternal flame. The ignition sequence began, but the process was unstable, with the machinery struggling to draw enough power from the dying star. Matthews knew they needed more energy than the core forge alone could provide. She ordered the rekindled flames across the luminexus to be connected directly to the core forge, using the light of every rekindled system as a unified surge to feed the ignition. The flames blazed in response, their light converging on the core forge, and for a moment, the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The eternal flame burst to life in a radiant explosion that sent shockwaves of energy rippling outward, tearing through the Nihilite armada and shattering their ships in an incandescent storm. As the energy waves spread across the galaxy, dormant flames on distant worlds flared up, reigniting in rapid succession and spreading warmth and light across previously darkened systems. Worlds that had not seen the light of a true star for centuries were suddenly bathed in the eternal flame's brilliance. The Nihilites' defeat was total, and High Prophet Kaler, witnessing the rekindling he had sought to prevent, chose self-immolation within the light of the eternal flame, his final act one of futile defiance. For the Lightbearers, the rekindling signaled not just the restoration of energy, but a renewal of life. The galaxy, long gripped by decay, was now bathed in a luminous network of interconnected flames, and civilizations began to emerge from their isolation to partake in the new era. Captain Matthews and the Lightbearers stood as custodians of the rekindled galaxy, with the eternal flame at its heart, its warmth uniting species under a common cause. The rekindling had ignited more than just the stars. It had sparked a movement that defied extinction and embraced the shared future of the galaxy's many peoples. In this new era, the light did not simply shine upon the darkness, it banished it. The stars, once thought to be dying, now burned brighter than ever, not merely as celestial bodies, but as beacons of hope, rekindled by those who had refused to let the galaxy fade away.